There are 6 levels of cloud engineer, and in 2026, the bottom levels are starting to compete with AI, while the top levels are being pulled into architecture meetings, business decisions, and much higher paid roles. Same AWS services, same cloud platforms, but completely different outcomes. Now, the uncomfortable truth is that most people trying to break into cloud or move up in cloud are operating way lower than they think. And that's why certifications, tutorials, and projects, they still don't always get you hired. So in this video, I'll show you which level that you are at, which level companies are paying for, and why the fastest way to climb up is not what most people think. I'm Suleiman. I spent 11 years in tech, from IT apprentice to building my own cloud and AI businesses. Through my academy, I've helped more than 900 IT professionals, engineers, and career switchers master cloud and land six-figure roles, including at companies like AWS and Microsoft. So when I show you these 6 levels, this isn't any theory. This is what I see every single week from both sides of the market, helping businesses trying to adopt AI in cloud and people like you trying to break in, move up, or even stay relevant. Level 1 is all about remember. And this unlocks the ability to recognize. This is where everyone starts, right? Flashcards, AWS service names, definitions, S3 is this, EC2 is that. It feels like progress because the pile of cards keep shrinking. But being able to just recognize what a service is has absolutely nothing to do with knowing when or why to use it. So you might scrape a cloud certification this way, but if you ever get lucky enough to even reach an interview and someone asks you how you'd handle a company onboarding 100,000 users next month, you will just simply freeze because nobody ever asked you to think, only to recall. Level 1 alone won't land you a job in 2026. And the study shows that just memorizing on its own, which is what you're doing at this level, is actually the worst way to hold on to information in the long term. Level 2 is understand and unlocks the ability to explain. Here you stop memorizing and start asking why things are the way that they are. Two people can read the exact same AWS documentation and look identical from the outside, but the level 1 person is thinking that I need to remember there are different storage tiers, while the level 2 person is thinking, why does AWS even give you so many tiers and what's each one actually used for? That second mindset means that you can explain your reasoning out loud instead of reciting the specifications. Now, this is roughly where junior interviews live, and it can open up roles like cloud support associates and junior sysadmin, and here you'll get paid around 50 to 70K. Hardly anything to live on, right? Level 3 is apply, and it unlocks problem solving. Now, this is where you build. You follow a tutorial, you stand up a web app behind a load balancer, get it serving some traffic, and you push it to GitHub. This feels obviously very productive. You finally got something to show for the effort that you've been putting in. But look closely at what's happening. You have one problem, you have one solution, you have one tutorial holding your hands the whole way through. At no point did you spend time trying to understand the why behind the project. And this is the exact layer that AI can now do in just seconds. It'll write your Terraform code and walk through every step. So if your entire value to the job market is that I can follow instructions, you are competing head-on with a Claude and a ChatGPT. And let's be honest, you're never going to win that race. Now, despite that, as of today, level 3 is still what unlocks roles like cloud support engineer, junior cloud engineer, and cloud ops engineer. And pay here is roughly around 60 to 90K a year. Typically, this is where a lot of people are stuck. In fact, the majority of people who come to me for help through my academy tend to fall into 2 camps. The first are trapped right here. So 3 to 4 years, sometimes even longer, stuck around the 100K a year mark or just below. The second camp already earns 6 figures quite comfortably, but they're just afraid that their role isn't actually safe in an AI world, or they started to hate their current job and want a way out. Both have usually been grinding away solo, whether it's with certifications or tutorials for a while, and have both hit the same wall. They can't get hired. So if either of those sound like you and you're serious about landing a 6-figure cloud role, there's a link in the description below to book a call with my team. We are busier than ever right now because we are getting results virtually every single week. Cosmic got hired as a cloud engineer after just 6 weeks with us. Mac went from IT help desk to systems engineer at AWS. John went from no experience to hired at AWS as a cloud consultant. Silas switched careers at 42 and now he's a platform engineer. Rob went from tech support to cloud infrastructure engineer in just 7 weeks, and he also picked up a second offer from IBM. Salim just landed a cloud security role at American Express, earning multiple 6 figures. Link in the description below to book a call with my team. We'd love to help. Now, level 4 is to analyze, and it unlocks comparison, the ability to hold options side by side and understand the trade-offs. So let's say an online store's checkout keeps crashing every time that they run a promotion. At level 4, you are asking what's actually breaking. Is the database struggling to keep up with all of the requests, or part of the system that's doing the heavy heavy processing. And then you're weighing real fixes against each other. Do you store a temporary copy of the data so the system isn't hitting the database every single time? Do you let the requests line up and get handled in order instead of all at once? Or do you set it up so it automatically adds more power the moment that the traffic spikes? Now, each one solves it completely differently, and each one costs something different when traffic triples on the next promotion. So, which one actually makes sense here? Here is the irony. Almost everyone is capable of level 4. The problem is that it feels slower and it's longer to grasp, so they slide back down to where it feels comfortable in level 2. I call this the misinterpreted effort trap. The effort that feels like failure is the exact effort building the skill, and this is the layer that AI can't do for you. The data shows that AI generated code produces well over 1.5 times more bugs than human written code. So when it leaves a security hole open or sets up something wrong, you're the one who has to spot it. And you can only spot it if you understand what's happening under the hood. At level 4, this is where you can expect roles like cloud engineer, DevOps engineer, platform engineer, comfortably earning 150K a year or more. Level 5 is evaluate, and it unlocks prioritization, the ability to make the strategic calls. At level 4, you're comparing the options. At level 5, you ask the questions that actually matter. So what? What happens to the business if we get this wrong? Take the same checkout problem. At level 4, you weigh the fixes. At level 5, you say that this promotion only runs 4 times a year and the team doesn't have the experience to maintain something so complicated, so we'll take the slightly pricier hands-off option that holds on the load and frees up the team to build up the features that actually grow the revenue for the business, right? So you're connecting the technical decisions straight to the business outcomes. And that's first principles thinking. Strip away the trends and the noise and ask what we're really solving and what success looks like for the company. And this is exactly where the role is being dragged into in 2026. As AI absorbs the repetitive execution, the job is shifting up. Less scripting, more architecture, more judgment, and more directing outcomes. Now look, you are never going to be AI on speed. It'll write code faster than you every single time, but it can't see the whole picture. You know, the business problem behind the code, the trade-offs, why one design makes sense over another for this specific company and their use case. That architectural thinking still needs a human in the seat, and that's really where the money is at. The roles that open up here are senior cloud engineer, cloud security engineer, solutions architect, and here we're looking at 250K or more. Level 6 is to create, and it unlocks innovation. This is inventing approaches that doesn't exist yet, solving problems with no documented answers anywhere. Level 6 is where Elon Musk's team at SpaceX are operating at, landing a reusable rocket which has never been pulled off. It's Andrej Karpathy's way of the world solving problems that nobody has done before. And honestly, you almost certainly don't need this. This is at founder territory. 7 figures in compensation reserved for a tiny few redrawing of what's even possible. Now, for everyone watching this, level 4 and level 5 is more than enough to land a 6-figure role, making really, really good money. And this is the part that really matters in 2026, building a career that's genuinely recession-proof and AI-proof. Now, naturally, you might be wondering, I'm in level 1 or level 2 and I want to reach level 4 or level 5. So your instinct is to climb bottom to top, recognize or remember, then understand, then apply, all the way up. But here's why it will keep you stuck. Firstly, it's painfully slow, and you'll burn out way before you get to level 5. Secondly, knowledge decays. While you're grinding level 3, your level 1 knowledge begins to fade away. So then you spend most of your time relearning what you've already forgotten instead of actually reaching level 5. That's why you should flip it on its head. Start at level 5 and then work your way down. Your brain forms far stickier understanding when it's faced with a real strategic problem than it ever does staring at a random flashcard. Aim at the top and then the lower levels fill themselves in underneath you as a side effect. Now, it does not work in reverse, right? Memorizing service names will never teach you to make architectural decisions, but trying to make architect decisions forces you to understand, compare, and recall the services along the way. Now, in practice, it all comes down to the question that you start with. So let's say that you are faced with that checkout problem. E-commerce company, site falls over every time that they run a promotion. The level 1 instinct is to go and ask, okay, what service will handle this traffic spike? And sure, you will get an answer, a service name, and now you're right back to memorizing. But ask it at level 5 instead. How do I design this so it survives the spike and doesn't bankrupt the company the other 360 days of the year? You literally can't answer that without walking down through every level beneath it. So you've got to understand the services, know how to apply them, compare the trade-offs, and weigh it all against the business because fundamentally you are solving business problems with technology. And in 2026, you add the clause that actually gets you hired, i.e., how could I do this with AI faster, cheaper? Maybe that's predicting the spike before it even hits you, so you're scaling ahead of it instead of scrambling. Maybe it's an agent watching your cost and right-sizing things automatically, so you're not bleeding money for the rest of the year. Same scenario, but that one question drags the whole framework and the AI layer along with it. So why does any of this actually matter, right? Why am I banging on about the levels? So if you're sitting at level 1 or level 2 or level 3 right now, you are the most exposed that you've ever been because that's exactly the work AI is coming for. And look, I am not saying that every cloud engineer at this level is going to lose their job, but we are walking into a new era where people are deploying agents to do the work for them. Now, are these agents production ready today? Absolutely not. They've got security flaws. They can't be trusted in production. We are not quite there yet. But that's precisely the window. Right now, there is a gap. And if you're at level 1, level 2, or level 3, you need to use it to start wiring your brain completely differently to solve actual problems instead of clicking through tutorials like a zombie. Because the moment that your whole value proposition as a cloud engineer is just following steps and instructions, then you are simply competing with Claude and ChatGPT instead of other humans. And that shift up in responsibility that I mentioned earlier, it isn't just happening in cloud. It's happening across the whole of tech, every single role. The work is moving up the stack into architecture, into system design, into designing systems that are resilient, into judgment. There'll be a day in the future where a company just doesn't hire 10 engineers anymore. They hire 3 or 5 who all come with a team of agents underneath them. And I know it sounds ridiculous right now, but that is where things are headed. Now, and in that world, in the tokens to run those agents start costing way more than the salaries that the engineers are getting paid. The person who knows how to direct them efficiently, who can architect the whole thing and make the right calls, that person is going to be worth a fortune. And that's a seat at the table that you will want. So really, stop asking what to memorize and how to click buttons and follow a tutorial. You want to start asking about what problems are you solving, why your solution makes sense, and how AI can do it faster, cheaper, or better. And you'll be sounding like a completely different cloud engineer because you will be one. As always, I'm rooting for you. Good luck and become undeniable.